Welcome to the Chairman's Podcast. I hope, wherever you're listening from, you can put yourself at the foot of my chair and hear some stories by the crackling fire. Come relax every Monday morning as I release a new chapter from one of my novels. My hope is for you to find yourself entering into new worlds beyond your imagination. So sit back and warm yourself by the fire as I begin. This is Book 1, Tauno, Medric, and the Dragon's Will. Chapter 1, Absence of Light. All light dissolves before me, vanishing into the dark mist that floods the streets. Witnessing the shadows of disoriented people grasp at the cursed darkness upon us, a crack in the void is broken by blood-curdling screams. Piercing my ears with a sting, the sudden halting of silence burns as thickening air looms in. Fear! It clutches my skin, claws at my bones. Pounding like my heart, distant feet echo against the damp stone path. Rumbling rocks shatter as if they were crumbling away from beneath me. Looking for the world to fall away, I only see the once frantic shadows now lying still on the ground and darkness beginning to swallow their bodies. From the rolling fog, a figure steps forth, emerging as the shadow of a man. Darkness his cloak, and black fire his face. He looms with fear at his side. Bending to his will, I turn upwards and face the giant that terror builds up before me. Crippling under the weight of darkness, I fall to his malice. Uninterested in my frailty, he passes by. With merely a glance down to me, I see in his eyes the demand of the chasm's abyss. The subduing weight of his shadow covers me, shrouding my entire being with a living darkness. It begins consuming my very will to live. But no, this is not merely darkness. This is an evil far greater. A consuming void that swallows any and all life. Emanating from the cloaked chaos before me, the fringes of his garment produce an oozing substance. Trailing down the stones, the vile secretion flows to my limp body. Immersing me in the very darkness I feel pressing down upon my helpless form. The thick paste pools like hardening black blood. Burning into my skin, it pours over every inch of me. Seeping up to my face, it bubbles and boils with the stench of searing flesh. Blinding my eyes as it coats me entirely, only the torturous black void can be seen and felt. With unending pain, the abyss plagues my mind. This darkness is not like the shadow of any passing night. This is an absence of light, through which nothing can pierce. Fading into the depths of my conscience, the emptiness poured in. There is no escaping its clutches. I gasp for air as my body shoots upright to the sound of knocking against my door. Cold sweat pours down my face and drips into the sheets of my bed. Another nightmare, I say mournfully to myself. Rubbing my eyes, I can feel the thickness of the still air looming in my room. A slit in my curtains allows a pale streak of golden sunlight inside. This ray illuminates the emptiness, but I can still see weak shadows upon the floor. Fresh memories of the nightmare keeps me halted upon my bed. Burying my face into my knees, I try to keep myself from shaking. This growing darkness has infected my mind and caused these night terrors for the past week. Amidst my weariness of unrestful nights, I had still managed to make it through these last couple of days. With a little glimmer of hope for the dawn of this day, I smiled to myself as the lengths of my ragged hair lightened their shade of brown from reflecting sunshine. Hearing a bird begin to chirp outside my window, I lift my head, awake now and listening intently to the early morning around me. Far off beyond the bird, I can hear a faint train whistle, the 8 o'clock trip to South Dowra's city of Shadu. Then, much closer and below me, the rustling of cutlery begins. My mother, fast at work, already preparing for the day. "Tauno, it's well past time to get up." Her call shudders the house. The bird that peacefully tweeted outside my window let out a screech and flew off. Its song lingers on my ears as silence swallows my room. Turning, I drop my feet off my bed and they thud hard against the oak plank floor. Realizing my legs were still asleep, even if I wasn't, Struggling to stand, I manage to pull away from the bed and hobble myself to the window. Looking around my room's floor, I see lingering shadows and feel fear swelling up inside me. Quickly turning away from them, I cast myself up onto the windowsill. The floorboards creak when I jump, which is a sure sign to my mother that I was up. Then I reach for the curtains behind me and throw them aside. A dazzling light pours into my room, flooding every inch of it. Not a shadow remains, and in relief I fall from the sill to my knees. "You better be down here soon," my mother calls again as the sound of my sudden impact echoes off the walls. "Your breakfast won't stay hot forever." Hunching over, my head hits the floor. I've hidden this fear of darkness from her, since its cause is merely the nightmares. Once they stop, the looming shadow will vanish. Turning my head to my room, I scan the walls, floors, and every corner. No darkness remains, yet still dread has a hold on me, and that won't stop, even in the light. The stairs creak as my limp body descends them. A lasting dreariness remains heavy on my eyes. Twisting myself around the last railing post, I see my mother busy around the kitchen counter. Her long dark brown hair is tied back, but loose enough for the wild strands to fall over her face. The tattered summer dress she wears no longer shines with the orange hue of dawn, like she always says it did. Patched with fraying threads, each tear holds a hidden story. "You've been active up there. What was all the noise about? Don't tell me there was another mouse." She reaches for the broom and grips tight around it. "No, it wasn't a mouse. I just fell." I turn from the kitchen and head to the front door. "Excuse me, where are you off to?" She looks sternly at me. "I'm going to the market. It's fresh today, is it not? I thought you'd be glad I'm doing something productive," I say, with a yawn drawing on my breath as I grab my bag off the hook. "Of course," she turns to the food on the table. "But aren't you going to eat first?" "No, I need to work for my appetite. Maybe when I get back." I turn and head out the door. "All right, just don't be too long," she calls from inside the house. I begin walking down the forest road, a small dirt path that leads to the town of Hawesville. Going the other way would take me to the Mayrow train, and past that to the town of Natsay. Walking under the looming trees, the shadows cover me. Struggling to breathe, I begin sweating again. The nightmares from the nights prior plague my mind. Slowing my pace, I try to avoid the dark patches that litter the ground before me. From the top of a hill, I can see the small town of Hawesville in the distance. The meadows that lead to it are shadowed with a fading gray. Looking to the sky, I can see dark clouds lingering above the town. Taking a moment to breathe, I push forward into the dark and shadowed land. On a cloudy day like today, I wouldn't have even stepped outside, considering the condition I'm in. But this storm ahead only drew me in. A feeling unrecognizable had me pacing steadily through the shadows. Making my way down the forest road, I managed to find myself in town. Beside me, the bakery illuminated its doorstep with the warmth of a welcoming light. Dim candles lit the interior. Exhausted from the dreadful walk here, I decided to go inside and regain some strength before heading to the market up ahead. "Good morning," says the baker as I walk in. Dazed a little from the heavy darkness, I can only bring myself to stand in the doorway, each breath clutching at the candles that flicker their dull flame. "Ahem, can I help you?" Coming back to reality, I look around. The baker, coated in his usual flour and batter, stands with arms crossed. Feeling the guilt of entering with intentions of merely escaping the dark, I turn to the counter. "Morning. I'll take 2 loaves." Reaching into my bag, I pull out the desired amount and pay. "Thank you, and have a good day," I say politely and turn for the door. Standing there, gazing out at the sea of darkness, I take a deep breath and prepare for the plunge. "Hey kid," the baker blurted out suddenly. "You should stay here for a little. There's some mage stuff going on out there. I can feel it." He presses his arms to his chest with a groan. "Thanks for the heads up. I'll be careful." Taking his advice, I begin walking cautiously out of the bakery. A mage in these parts? That's unlikely, I mutter to myself as I step from the porch. The idea of one of them wandering into our little town doesn't faze me. It's this darkness that runs my blood cold. Fierce shadows begin to fall onto the street, and a sudden anxiety freezes me in place. The silver lining between each cloud vanishes. Heavy darkness weighs upon the sky and brings down the clouds. Standing motionless, a creaking door opens behind me. "Why didn't you listen? Get back in here, quick!" The baker calls to me from the doorway of his shop. Turning around, I can see the baker locked in place as well, his face staring towards the distant street ahead. A black fog cloaked the world before us. Forcing my body to move towards the door, a sudden pressure crushes me. My legs, cemented in place, keep me from moving any further. But looking beyond the mist, I can see a black liquid, a living secretion, moving on the feet of the baker and flowing slowly over him. Sparked with fear, scorching heat burned at my legs. Turning my head down, the same plague flowed upon me. Straining every muscle to move, the pain rushes to my head. Closing my eyes in agony, the world unfolds. Visions of every nightmare awaken, a faceless figure emerging from shadow, engulfing all life in darkness. Replaying through my mind causes frailty to every bone. Opening my eyes with fear sickening me, I slowly turn to the street. Clutching at my heart, the vapor of a figure cloaked in the abyss stepped forward. Reality is my nightmare. Distant screams call out. Cackling over their choking breath, the venomous substance consumes them. Shaking uncontrollably, my body hardens and I collapse. Inescapable fear dances through me and snuffs out my lingering breath. Pure silence, but I can feel. Pure emptiness, but I know. Lying still, a burning sensation arises on my legs. My feet, numb to the pain, lets the black ooze flow, burning as it goes. The flesh beneath my clothes peels away, searing through me. My own blood pools against me. In legion, the plague of liquid darkness hardens like a scab. For that is what it is. The vile, wet burning that climbs to my chest is the same secretion that pulses in my veins. Blood of victims. Blackened by time, the iron blood darkens. Slowly it moves, like a shadow from the sun. But there is no sun anymore. Only the dark. I can no longer see, or even breathe. The darkness wrapping itself around me tightens and chokes. The sight of the dark figure passes over me as I begin to fade. Looking down, his eyes meet mine. A fire of terror and evil crackle within them. The burning blood then pours into my mouth and eyes. A distant scream comes out of my body, nearly inaudible to myself. An indescribable pain comes over me. A fury of burning hell upon my flesh encases me in a tomb of absolute nothingness. My death is inevitable and desired, but the torture which lasts an eternity binds me. Not breathing, not hearing, not smelling, but only feeling now. Being kept alive by nothing but sheer fate, I tried to remember the feeling of light, a cool breeze in my hair, and the yellow of the sun. But nothing could be seen. Even in the depths of my imagination there was only a void, an absence of light in the abyss of my mind. Suddenly, the flash of a fiery light erupts, a blinding sun brighter than anything and burning even hotter than the blood that covers me. The cracking and peeling of a hardened shell was all I heard, the sound of flakes hitting the ground. I blink. My eyes move and scan the darkness. There was no feeling of a wet, heavy heat upon me any more. "Tauno! Tauno! Can you hear me, Tauno?" A faint echo rattles in my ear. Then I realize it's a voice. Not my own, not at all. But I can't speak in return. I can't even move. "Blink twice if you can hear me," the voice speaks again. So I blink, but only the flaking around my eyes move. Oh, thank Talion himself! I feel a faint pressure on my right arm. A hand must have grabbed it. "All right, I'm going to carry you. I need to get you somewhere safe, somewhere where you can get better." The voice says this in a calmer tone. Then I feel a light pressure on my chest. Unable to see, I realize I'm blind, for there is no longer any weight of darkness on me, only a black mist over my eyes. I begin to breathe heavily and start to panic. "You're going to be fine, Tauno," The voice says in a more parted breath. I'm realizing we're running now. Everything will be all right soon, they say calmly, and then go quiet. The pressure of each step sways me through the darkness. What seems like forever eventually passes. Stopping suddenly, I feel the burning sores on my back as I'm laid against the ground. Tauno, we're almost where we need to be. The voice speaks softly, though their words are parted with heavy breaths of exhaustion. I'm going to put you to sleep now, and when you wake up, you're going to be all better. Without being able to make any objections, I prepare myself for whatever my rescuer needs to do. But I feel nothing. Only the sound of faint whispering fills my mind. The sea of nothingness consumes me as I drift away. End of Chapter 1. Thank you for listening, and come back next Monday for Chapter 2, The 3 Seats.